Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. In this video, we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful double peplum blouse with shawl collar. I'm opening up the shawl collar for us to see. This is what our shawl collar looks like, and this is what it looks like at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it down back. So it's a cut together with shawl collar. This project is very simple, very beautiful, and you can see that it's giving the corporate effect. It's a princess armhole bustier I used to achieve this beautiful top. I hope this is something you are interested in learning. Kindly stay tuned while we get right into the video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure to hit on the subscribe button to subscribe and also put on your notification bell so you get notified once I post a new video. And feel free to share also. So let's get right into the video. So I've gone ahead to cut out the fabric I'll be using to draft the front, and it is on fold. So here I have a width of 18.5 inches, which is enough for the front. So to determine the amount of fabric, you're going to use the biggest circumference you're working with. And this is the upper body. So the biggest circumference here is the bust. The bust divided by 4 gave me 10. So 10, I added 4 inches to that 10. This is to give me my allowance for that intake. So that gave me 14 inches. And then also we're going to be having a shawl collar, that's a lapel in front here. And that will give, I'm using 4 inches for the allowance of the shawl collar. So in total, that's 18 inches. Okay, so that's why I have 18 inches. And then also the length of my fabric here, you can see that I have about 23 inches in length. I need to have the allowance also that I'll be using for my shawl collar, the upper part of the shawl collar, which is going to be 4 inches. So here I came down by 4 inches first to measure the half length of my client, which is 17.5 inches. So plus half inch for joining the flare. So that will give me 18 inches. So that's how I came about the length of my fabric and the width of the fabric. So now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to rule my line here. Here, this is our starting line, which is also the shoulder line. So this allowance here I have is for the shawl collar. And then also from the center front here, I'm going to also come in by 4 inches. Can see? So now this is also the allowance for our shawl collar, and this is for the upper part. So this is the center front now, and this is our shoulder line. So the first thing I'm going to do now on the shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and mark half of the shoulder measurement of my client, then plus half inch for joining her sleeve. Half of our shoulder measurement is 8 plus half inch for joining the sleeve, that is 8.5. And then on the shoulder line also, I'm going to mark 3 inches, which is the neck width. I'll come down by 1 inch from this shoulder measurement here. This is to achieve our shoulder slant. And then I'm going to slant it to this point. So now we have our shoulder slant. So now the next thing to do now is to come down by the armhole measurement, which is also the chest line. So from the shoulder slant here, I'm going to mark our armhole measurement, which is 8 inches. So having marked my 8 inches, on this 8 inches mark, I'm going to reconfirm the shoulder measurements plus half inch here. This is for me to have a straight line to connect to the shoulder tip. So you can see where the 8.5 ends. So I'm going to draw a line like this, and then I'll square it out. So now this is our armhole line as well as the chest line. So next, from the shoulder line, I'm going to mark the nipple point of my client. The nipple point is 11 inches. Can you see? I'm still going to come here this way so that I can have a straight line. So next, I'm going to mark the under bust measurement, and our under bust is 14.5. Then next, I'm going to mark the half length. So our half length is 17.5. So plus half inch for joining the down part. That's for joining the flare. So I'm going to mark on 18 inches. So now we have the bust line, the under bust, and then the waistline. On the bust line, I'm going to mark the nipple to nipple measurement. Half of her nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches. I'll add half to that, that will be 4.5. And then I'll mark the same 4.5 here on the under bust line, and then I'll repeat the same thing on the waistline. Okay, so having done that now, so now we want to determine our dart intake, and I'm going to be padding this bustier that I'm making. Despite the fact that it's a shawl collar peplum, I'm going to be padding it. So now I'll come to this side. This is now our center, and this is the side here. I'll come to this side and mark half inch. This is on the under bust line, and then here too I'll mark the same half inch. So now to determine the dart intake I'll be doing on this side, I'm going to use the difference between the bust and the waist measurement to determine that dart intake. So now this is it. The bust divided by 4 is 10 inches. And then the waist divided by 4 is 8.5. So 8.5 out of 10 inches, that's going to be 1.5. So that's the difference of 1.5. So I'm going to mark that 1.5 here on the under bust, and I'm going to repeat the same thing here on the waistline. So now you can see I have half inch here and I have 1.5 on this side. So I'm going to straighten my line out this way. I'll straighten it this way. So then I'll bring in my armhole curve. So from the bust line here, I'll come down by half of an inch. And then I'll curve this to meet this point like this. And then I'll also do the same thing on this side. So now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to come to the armhole. Remember that it's a printer's armhole bustier. So I'll come to the armhole and get the midpoint of the armhole first. And then I'll go in by 3/4 of an inch. Then I'll connect it back to the shoulder tip like this. Then I'll go ahead and curve the armhole like this. Can you see? So now most times when you're curving the armhole, it would surely have a way of aligning with the bust measurement. And let's say quarter of the bust measurement is 10 inches. So you can see where the armhole stops. It stops at that 10 inches. So now to create the armhole bustier, I want to curve it to meet the armhole. So from this midpoint of the armhole, I'll come down by half inch. Can you see that? Half inch here. So that's from the center here. I came down by half inch. And then I'll bring in my armhole curve and connect it to half inch above the bust point. So here is our bust point. Just like I went down by half inch here, I'm going to mark half inch upwards also. So now I'll bring in my armhole curve and place it correctly. Can you see? So you want to just make sure you're placing it correctly. You see, this is the first one, and then here now I'll place it this way to meet this half inch I came down by. Remember, I came down by half inch, so this is to avoid gaping on the armhole. So once I do that, you can see I will need to cut out this part. So I'll come here to the shoulder and I'll go up by that half inch I came down by here. So I'll go up by that half inch here and then slant it this way. So can you see, so I went up by half inch. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to enter all our circumferences. So the bust divided by 4 is 10. I'll add 2 inches for my sewing allowance and half inch for turning my lining. So that's 2.5. So here on the underbust line, I'm going to enter a quarter of the underbust measurement, which is 8.5. So plus my dart intake, you can see I have a dart intake of 2 inches. I'll return back the same 2 inches here. And then the same 2.5 I added here is what I will add here also. So the waist measurement is also 34 inches. So 34 divided by 4, that's 8.5. So I also have a dart intake of 2 inches here. I'll return it here and then enter my 2.5. So this extra half inch I'm doing is for me to turn my lining, and also the half inch I'll be using to join this side. I hope we understand. So that's why I'm doing 2.5, so that I'm not short of allowance. I'm just going to connect this way. You can see, connected this way. For the armhole, when we're joining it, this part has a tendency of becoming longer than this. So to avoid that shortage, I'm going to extend this armhole here. I'll be cutting out this part. I'll be cutting out this part. So I'm going to extend this here so that by the time we join the center piece and the side piece, we can reshape our armhole. So to determine the amount you're going to be extending it with, I'm just going to come here now and check my dart intake. I have 2 inches. So I'll come here and extend this line by 2 inches from the armhole, that's from the initial armhole. So this is my 2 inches. Can you see? So I'm going to curve it now. So now this is now my new armhole for the side piece. So this is not affecting the center piece. You can see that this one stops at this side, but this is extended. So now we're going to come down to the shawl collar side. But first, before we do the shawl collar, I'm going to mark my neckline. Already I have a neck width of 3 inches. I'll mark the same neck depth of same 3 inches. So I'll bring in my armhole curve and draw the neckline. So now that's it. The shawl collar now, I want the shawl collar to be 2 inches in width when we're done sewing it. So because it's going to be 2 inches in width, I also need half inch for my sewing allowance. So that will be 2.5. So from the center front here, I'm going to mark 2.5. Take note of where I'm placing my tape from the center front. So this is my 2.5. And then I'll also mark it here on the bust line. 2.5. So I'm going to connect it with a straight line like this. So but at this upper part of the collar, I need it to be a little bolder. That's to be more than this 2.5. So I want this place to be 1 inch more than what we have here. So that will be 3.5. So from the shoulder line here, that's from the starting point here, I'm going to go out by 3.5. So by the time we sew with half inch here, we'll be left with 3 inches here. By the time we sew with half inch here, we'll be left with 2 inches here. So now I'm going to curve it to meet this point like this. So you can see that it's not a straight line anymore. Here is straight, 2.5. So I'm curving it to meet this point like this. So can you see? So that's that. So now to achieve our shawl collar, because we're not going to use this regular neckline. So here I have a neck depth of 3 inches. So I'm going to go up by the same 3 inches. So this is my 3 inches, which is the neck depth I have. So of course we're going to use half inch to join the two sides of the collar. So I'm going to add half inch for my sewing allowance. Can you see? So half inch for my sewing allowance. So meaning that this line will have to extend upwards. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect them this way. So you can either slant this line upwards, or you can either make it straight like I'm doing. But I want it to be straight. I don't want it upwards, okay? So now the next thing I'm going to do is to connect this line like this. See? So this is what our neckline looks like. So the 3 inches we have here for our neckline is what we transferred to this side. And so you can see that I have 3.5 inches. Half inch will be for joining the two sides of the collar. So now this is what our shawl collar looks like, so you can see. So now there's something I'm going to do because I'm drafting directly on my fabric. So I'm going to take away the difference between the front and back length of my client, and in this case that is 1.5 inches, because our front length and the back length, the front half length is not the same as the back half length. We have our bust in front, so that makes it longer automatically. So that's a difference of 1.5 inches. So I'll come here to the side here and mark that 1.5 inches. So this is 1.5 inches. So remember I've added my allowance. So this is my allowance. So from here, this 1.5, I'll take it straight first to the actual measurement. This is where the actual measurement ends, right? And then I'll go ahead and slant it to meet the first dart leg. You see that? So this is it. So now we can now go ahead and cut out our fabric. So I'll start with the collar from this side. Can you see? And then I'll cut this way. So you can see my dart is out of the way. Okay? So we'll come here now and cut on the new armhole. So we'll come here also and take out the difference between the front and the back. And then we take out the excess we don't need. So this is what our side piece looks like. So this is what our front piece looks like. So you can see this is the bust point here. So we'll just notch the bust point because you don't want to miss this point. You notch this point also. And then notch the under bust point. Then we'll also notch the under bust point here. So can you see? So this is what I was talking about. So by the time we join our piece together, can you see what is happening already here? Can you see that this, if we had not come out by that 2 inches, we would have had a big shortage. So by the time we join, we can now trim out this excess we have. So now this is what our shawl collar is going to look like. Can you see how it will overlap this way? So now for the lining parts of the front, for this center front piece, that's these two pieces, you cannot use your lining here. You must use your fabric or another color of fabric that you want. As if you want to have another color in front, that's what you're going to use here. You can't use lining for this part. It has to be the same Ankara fabric or another fabric, but certainly not lining for this, because this is the one that will show the lining. What is inside is what will show outside. I hope you understand. Then for the side piece, you can go ahead and cut your lining. So I'm going to cut my lining out for the front, and then I'll show us the back, how to draft the back. So I've drafted the back already, and it's just a basic back. So just in case you don't know how to draft a basic body, I'll be dropping the link in the description box so that you can learn how to draft a basic bodice. So here the back half length is 16.5. Remember that the front half length was 18 inches and I took away 1.5, which is the difference between the front and back. So here I have 16.5. And I've also gone ahead to take out the zipper bulge. So you can see I have my shoulder line, the armhole, and then this is the bust measurement here plus my 2.5. And then here at the waistline, I entered the waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2.5, and then 1 inch for that. So at the back, we're going to be having our normal basic dart, okay? So I'm just going to mark this chest line here. So from the center back, I'm going to draw my dart now. So from the center back, I'm going to mark the nipple to nipple measurement. Half of the nipple to nipple measurement is 4 inches. So I'll mark the same 4 inches here. So I'm going to straighten the line. I'm going to just draw a straight line like this. So from this chest line here, I'm going to come down by ½ inch. And then here on the waistline, I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides. So which is for my dart intake of 1 inch. So I'll mark it and then I'll zeroize it at this ½ inch point. So this is what our dart looks like for the back. So now we'll come here and mark our back neckline. So the neck width I'm using is 3 inches and then the depth is ½ inch. So this is because we're going to have our shawl collar sewn to the back. So I'm just going to curve it this way, like this. So I'll extend it into the zip allowance. And you can see I've also taken out my zipper bulge of ½ inch. So this is really simple. So this our back is simple and we're done with it. So I'll go ahead now and cut out the neckline. So this is what our back looks like. The next thing we're going to do is to cut our lining. Now it's time for us to draft our peplum, and we have a waist circumference of 34 inches. So to get the radius of the waist circumference of 34 inches, we're going to say the waist circumference, which is C divided by 6.28. This is a standard for a 360 flare. A 360 flare is a full circle. So it's a normal standard for it. We're going to divide 34, which is our waist circumference, by 6.28. And so here you can see that we have 34 divided by 6.28, and that gave me 5.4. So now we have the radius of a circle of 34 inches. So here is our 5.4 inches. So we have our radius now. So now to get the length of our flare. The length of the flare I want to make is 8 inches. I also need 1 inch, which is for my allowance. ½ inch is for stitching it to the waistline, and then ½ inch is for hemming the peplum. So that's a total of 9 inches. So the length of our peplum is 9 inches. So I'm going to add this 9 inches to 5.4, which is the radius of our peplum, to determine the amount of fabric to fold to draft this peplum. And that gave me 14.4. So I'm going to just approximate this to 14.5 inches. So now we know that the length of the fabric we are looking for should be 14.5 inches. So I'm going to fold 14.5 inches into 4 places. That means I'm looking for a perfect square of 14.5 inches. So which means this 14.5 inches will be times 2. That will give me 28.8. So that's about 29 inches. So I'm going to cut a fabric of 29 inches in a complete square shape and then show us what to do. So I've cut out the fabric I'll be using for my peplum, and you can see this is what I have. So this is a perfect square, 29 inches round, and I folded it into 2 like this already. And this is what I have here. So you can see I have, okay, I have more than 14. I have more than 14.5, but that's fine. I can always cut it out. And then this way also, so you can see I have 29.5, so which is enough to give me what I need. So next I'm going to go ahead and fold it into 2 like this. So you can see now it's folded into 4. So now from this point, from this apex where all the points meet, I'm going to measure 5.4 inches, which is the radius of our peplum. So this is now my 5.4 inches. Can you see? This is 5.5 here. So I'm going to use this as my 5.4. So I'll mark 5.4 here. And then I'll mark it this way. You want to make sure that your tape is at this point where your apex is 0.4, and then this is 5.4. and 5.4. So I'm going to connect my points. So now this is our radius. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the length of the flare, which is 9 inches. So from this point now, this is where my 9 inches ends. 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches, 9 inches. So this is, so these are 9 inches here. So this is now our full circle. So I'll go ahead now and I'll cut it out. Then I'll cut out this part. Okay. So before we go ahead and slash it open now, this is what I want us to do. We're going to measure what we have here. And quarter. Okay, so now I have 9 and quarter. The waist circumference we're working with is 34 inches, and that is exactly our waist circumference. So you can see that now I have 9 and quarter inch. So this 9 and quarter, multiply it by 4. That will give us 37, right? 37. So that will give us 37 inches. So which is more than the waist circumference. So this automatically is giving us our zip allowance. So when using the 6.8 formula, you don't need to add zip allowance. It automatically gives you plus your zip allowance. Sometimes it may give you extra 2 inches. Here now you can see that it gave me 3 inches. So which half inch is for when I turn my line, I'm going to be left with my zip allowance of 1 inch. So when you're working with the 6.8 formula, please don't bother adding zip allowance. It will always give you, but just make sure that you confirm your measurement before you go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead now and slash one of this. So I have two of them here open this way. So you have to pick one. You can't pick from this side. It has to be from one of this here. So I'll slash it open. So this is now going to be my zip allowance. This is going to be the center back, and this will be the center front. So I'll cut the second step of my peplum. It's going to be 3 inches shorter than what I have here. I'm going to repeat exactly the same thing. Nothing different, just exactly the same thing. The only difference is that the peplum is going to be 3 inches shorter than the length of this peplum, which is going to be 6 inches. So I'll cut it out and show us what to do. I've cut my lining, so you can see that this is our front piece. I've also ironed my hasty to the front piece, and then I padded the center front piece. So this is the main fabric here. So I have two of them, one for the right and the other for the left. And then I also have the main fabric here, which is going to serve as the lining for the center front. And you can also see that I've ironed my hasty to the lining also. So I'm going to set this aside. And then these are side pieces. And see, I've cut my lining, and I've also ironed pad and hasty to the fabric, and this is what I have here. And then I also have the lining for the back pieces. So you can see I have two linings and then like two back pieces. And then let's set it aside also. So this is our peplum. So these are peplum, two-step peplum. So you can see that I also went ahead to cut my lining, and I also did the same thing for the second one. So now for this peplum, to achieve the wavy look, I will have my crinoline here. So you want our peplum to have that nice and wavy look. So I'm going to be sewing this crinoline to the base of my peplum. So this is what I'm going to do. This rough part, this peplum, this crinoline is plastic in nature. So this can actually poke the skin of anybody that is wearing it. So I'm going to use bias to cover this part. I'm going to use my cotton bias to cover this part so that it doesn't poke the skin. And then I'm going to place it here on the base of the peplum. I'll come up by half of an inch, and then I'll also come in by half of an inch at this point. And then I'll stitch my crinoline on the base of the peplum all the way down to the other side. And then I'll also go ahead and top stitch the upper part. I'll repeat the same thing for the lining of the bigger, that's the longer peplum. I'll do that and come back and show us. Right now, we're done with the cutting part of this video. In my next video, I'm going to be showing us how to stitch our pieces together to achieve this lovely piece. In other words, our next video is going to be the sewing part of this top. And you see, I used inseam sewing technique to achieve this. You can see what it looks like. This is the reverse side of the peplum top. Can you see? And you can see how neatly sewn it is. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and put on your notification bell so that you get notified once I upload the next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video and bye.